welcome to another jungle guide, and in this one we are having a look at how you must jungle in Season 12. Essentially your go-to guide to look at first clears, how you should be reading the map, how much should you be ganking, how should our early routes be set up, how do we read map control in terms of vision, how do we read and react to the enemy jungle when surprising and terrible things happen. All of this presented as basically a meta-analysis for you to fix your mistakes before you conduct your placements and position yourself in the best way possible to carry, win, and climb in Season 12. And I have a great game for you where both jungles will pop off. You've got aggressive clears, full clears, huge leads, snowballing, throws, bounties, basically everything Season 12 has to offer. So as always, if you do enjoy these videos, please consider leaving a like and of course subscribing. Coaching signups are available on Patreon as well as coaching VODs. The gameplay channel has all your individual VOD analysis, and now without hesitation, let's begin. In contrasting to previous editions of this type of video, instead of, waxing on hysterically for about 5 minutes about nonsense, we're jumping straight into the gameplay because this gameplay has not only your full clear Zed Jungle, but also the highly active 3-camp invade and gank Talon Jungle. You would have seen on screen as I was saying that champions that are best for either of those strategies, and then simply using a small amount of imagination, you can put whatever jungle you want into either one of these positions. Remember, it's the principles of the video that will translate to your game no matter what you play. And the first thing you will note is that the Zed is starting leashless on the blue buff, whereas Talon is getting a leash on the red buff. I'm seeing this a little bit too much from bottom lanes, and then they die 2v2 anyway. So please do help your jungler out, it helps them help you. Especially more niche picks that might struggle to match a heavy farming jungler or a meta jungler that clears really quickly. Now I'm just gonna rewind about 15 seconds, look at the Twisted Fate on the minimap from Zed's perspective, look where he comes from. You saw the Zed protecting the entrance to the red side in case he saw that raptor ward. Because no one showed up, you basically think, okay, this is kind of safe, at least as safe as it can be. But when you see the Twisted Fate do that come from the top side of the river, you know that he simply placed that ward on the raptors. So as you do your full clear as a Zed, you know that the enemy Talon can either do exactly the same thing as you, or he can buff Raptors and Grump. And if you are doing this sort of clear, which is what I'm telling a lot of people in, sort of the majority of elos to actually try, especially with a lot of the meta junglers, you can then look to gank top lane, you can then look to gank mid lane. But if those lanes have prior, if those lanes are pushing in as you would expect in these matchups, you can now invade the Zed. And you're thinking, well, Canyon was very disciplined, that's right, that's Canyon on Zed, about actually dragging the Raptor camp outside of the vision of the ward. Well, that's why they're pro players, that's why they're high elo. You simply click on the minimap, it's incredible, you can do this. You click on the minimap and it will show the Raptors being taken. This is a big mistake that most of you do when you are a 3-camp clearer. You miss a ganking opportunity mid or top, and if they are pushing, instead of, deciding let me invade and infiltrate the enemy jungler's area, you just default to clearing your jungle nice and standard and conservative, and that's bad, as I covered in the video last week, the coaching video. And as you're observing, Canyon is just saying, okay, I don't have prior, I can't coin flip the smite on the red, I can't face check the bush, if I do, they will rotate first. And if you are a full clearing jungler, the first mistake that you guys make in this situation is you actually try to fight it out. You try to 50-50 smite the Talon with no prior, you die, you flame your laners, it's wrong. Canyon shows you exactly how to do it. Give it up, just move on to your Krugs, pull them out, you have smite as a safety button, and now if you're really concerned about the Talon hanging around and setting a trap, you can of course path the long way, otherwise you can path directly to the bottom side. We do this because Talon has a position, we have to simply give up the top side of the map, we can head directly to the bottom scuttle and secure it. The Talon does what a lot of you won't do, and I understand why you can't do this in certain elos, but when the wave is crashing in the mid lane, you are allowed to dive this, and a lot of champions that can do this simply don't. At least players, Rexer players, yeah, they always do this. But Talon players, you can do this as well. We burn the Silas's flash and that's great, but it's a good look. Zed on the other hand has decided, you know what, I've lost the top side, I might lose that mid lane dive. Crab into bottom lane. Again, jungling with your eyes up. See what you can take before you need to fall back to your jungle camps rather than defaulting to doing them, because you will miss these golden opportunities. Now yes, Rumble is being turbo-fisted in the top lane by the Korean Jason, so he's TPing to the bottom lane to help this, which means as the Zed, you need to play off of this. This is a good move by your top laner, be there to clean up, get kills, shove waves. But in the event your top laner won't do this, and most of them won't, and of course with the TP changes coming through, they definitely won't be able to, you're still looking to transition that bottom crab into the bottom lane gank. And Canyon showed us this in the Zed gameplay on the other channel, I'll show a clip of that now. Lost his red buff just like this one, except it wasn't an invade, he couldn't counter invade, so just had to sequence what he had. Being invaded never means the end of the world, it just means you need to read and react and adapt your tracking and adapt your game plan. This is now more important than ever in Season 12 because we cannot full sequence without paying attention, and when hyper-aggressive junglers like Talon or simply any other ganking jungler decides to apply a lot of pressure to the map, your laners, then the majority of elos, will not respect this and they will just die a lot, and you'll be farming, but you'll be losing the game. Case in point in this situation is that Zed went back to base, bought a serrated Dirk, Now we'll be heading to the bottom side of the map, not only because our highest tier camps, the Gromp, Wolves, Raptors, and Krugs will all be spawning in that order so we can sequence upside. And that's a big mistake, by the way, because most of you will be thinking like that. The Talon, on the other hand, went from mid lane down to his Krugs and could very easily have gone to the Raptors for the second take, reset, and now gone to the top side. However, in reality, the bottom lane is playing very frivolous in nature, and you can expect it from most bottom lanes, overstaying for a plate push, but on the other side, the Ezreal had already died, he needed to stay in lane, and that's where your understanding and tracking skills need to be on point. You see, Canyon understands all of this way better than any of us combined. We see the Talon show up bottom lane chasing down the Ezreal with no remorse, the Karma's running to safety, Canyon already says, okay, you know what, I've done my Gromp, let me reactively path and get there. He's able to secure a kill and then very swiftly smites a minion as he's very close to level 5 to give him that level up, which gives him of course bonus stats, some HP back, and then they're able to kill the Talon. The Yuumi eventually dies, a wave is pushed, and now we can retreat back into our jungle for the good sequencing. Now your tracking has to evolve in this situation. The last time you saw the Talon mid lane, he had 21 CS moving down. Then you saw him attacking the Ezreal with 25 CS. That means you know he did his Krugs because the Raptor spawn would have only occurred at 417, at least approximately for most of your Talon junglers, and thus currently he will have a full top side available to him because he would have ganked mid lane, moved on down without the blue buff, so you know that's still available, and his Raptor camp. A logical deduction in high elo at this point is if top lane is just ungankable, if mid lane is also ungankable, the Talon will simply be sequencing down, making sure that he's there for the first RNG crab, he's there for another bottom lane gang, the respawning of his red buff, the dragon, and so on. And of course, if Zed decides to gank a whole top lane, that means the blue invade is also on the cards and maybe a little cheeky bottom dive. Zed knows this, so simply does a full sequence, resets back to base, runs directly to bottom lane now, knowing because of the great wards by the Karma that Talon is 100% on the bottom side. Rumble has literally no interest in playing top lane because obviously it's a Jace, and decides to go roaming with his buddy. Again, this does not impact your decision making. You do not need the top laner here to make this play. Most of the time your top laners are 1v1ing on the island, you're still looking to gank bottom lane, shadow the Talon being in the area, and counter gank it if possible. And if he's bad and then did Raptors and sequenced upside, then he's not even here anyway. So after you conduct a gank, it would be a free dragon for you. And while I was talking through that, in reality what you would have seen is a complete fiesta. Twisted Fate roamed on down, Zed just obliterated him, went for a weird dive, the wave wasn't quite positioned so they had to circle around again, but the end result, everyone dies. And remember from this kill conversion ratio, if you know that Talon had taken all his camps, if you were continuously tracking the CS, you know there's nothing up there to counter jungle, they're all dead, free objective, fall back to your blue side, and now you know again that Talon most likely heads to the top half of the map. And obviously Yuumi has decided that the ADC is not worth it, so she's just going to attach to the Talon and go around on him the whole game. How annoying is that? Rumble for all his Rum's bottom lane is eviscerated, but most importantly for Season 12, the biggest mistake I'm seeing in a lot of games beneath high elo is that you will simply now sequence upside and try and hold top lane. That's it, that's what you'll do. You have a lead, you're 7-0-2, might as well, right? Get some more experience, deny the counter jungling. No, not at all, and you would have seen this from the ganking video we did with Echo, when you can look to translate a bottom lane presence gank into an objective, and then transition in your jungle control to river control. That's the first step here. You've got bottom lane into mid lane into top lane ganks with dragons and heralds in between, and if none of those things are really truly available, you always have the option of invading the enemy jungle, especially seeing as they upset your top laner after his great roams. Now, if this happens in your games and you know you're being counter jungled on the Krugs, you're losing a red, there's a 3v1, you can't really contest it, but the Twisted Fate coming back to lane, we can punish that one. Can also use that to crash mid, take a few plates, but ideally the focus here is getting the herald and of course ganking top lane. If stuff is happening on the top lane and you simply cannot rotate to save the day, don't waste your time. In this case, it's great to secure the objective before they're able to rotate to it. In this case, lots of things were happening. The key aspect of this entire sequence, and obviously there's going to be a lot of fighting, you're going to see them stay out, they're going to use a herald, they're going to keep trying to get kills. The big reason for that is simply because we have an eclipse. We have a mythic completed. The enemy jungler does not. In fact, no one has one. So who's dominating every single fight while you stay on the map and force him to stay on the map? You are. And Canyon always understands that extended sequence, now using that spike to get as much as he can before everyone resets, and then of course he'll come back with a second item as they finish their mythics. The next goal is obviously make sure we control bottom side again, control the dragon spawn again. So you'd want to do your Raptors and maybe reset for the Ghost Blade, but if you see someone hanging around and you might need a little bit more money for that, of course if you feel like you can rotate and you feel like you can reactively path and actually win that fight, do so, but don't bite off more than you can chew, don't run into a 3v1 fight and die and give shutdowns. Mythic, Ghostblade, Assassin Bliss achieved, now we head to the bottom side. And this is where things can go wrong. If your bot lane's resetting, mid lane isn't in a position to help, you can do your blue side camps before setting up for the dragon, you don't want to face check it yourself, do have some time as well. But if you see your mid laner overstaying and being collapsed on by the enemy jungler, help if it's a 2v1 in your favor, help if it's a 2v2, you are super fed. But if it's really just a goon squad and you can do nothing about it, ideally now we want to shadow bottom lane, rotate, kill the ADC, that's great. take the tower. Please note it is close to 14 minutes, where in the new meta the teleport will have its original power, so the Jace would be able to TP like he does. Your top laner doesn't have it. And while Rumble has an impact early, Jace has an impact now. In this situation, we should not be here. There is no reason after taking the tower and pushing the wave to necessarily shadow the bot lane to try and take out the Yuumi. Bottom lane shouldn't be there either. 100% you should not be dying for this. Your mid lane is dead, it's completely dark in the bottom side of the map, there's a dragon spawning, let your laners die, it's okay in this situation. But really, when I see a map like that, I get really nervous. I don't want to hang around. I know they're all collapsing, there's nowhere else they could be. And as you can see, the Talon, even though he doesn't deserve it, is a level ahead of Zed. All those kills, the dragon, the minions soak in the lanes, the farming while you were dead, this offsets your lead drastically. Nevertheless, you can respawn, take your blue side, sequence up, there's a second herald, but if Twisted Fate decides, hey, I want to split push, you can kill him, thank you Ezra for the ultimate. A little bit of farming later, Talon is killing the rest of your team, you've chased after the Jace, especially in this situation as you cannot help your team from themselves. A little bit of shadow play, kills the Jace. They are pushing up the mid lane, and for some curious reason they go down, with an objective being up, you can simply take the freebie. Big mistake by Talon players, especially those with personal Yuumi attachés. Use your influence to get objectives, use your influence to get towers. If you get picks and get nothing from it, then it really amounts to nothing. And it would not be a Season 12 video if we did not have Hextech or Chemtech as a soul. Use the dragon to your advantage. The enemy team is obviously looking to pick off the bottom lane, try and get numbers advantage, continuously look to push, get bounties, shutdowns, etc. Well, at least if they have a deficit, if they don't, then they won't. But use the map to your advantage, stop complaining about it and use the tools that you have. Flank them, trap them, kill them, use the Herald bottom lane. Now you can really push to try and close out in the mid game. This is exactly what you want to do most of the time when you have a lead like the Zed. Minus of course the death in the bottom side. If you're Talon looking to get back into the game, what he did was perfect. Lane soak, catch people off guard, clean up when they miss position, punish their positioning mistakes, activate bounties if you have them, and all of a sudden you're on equal footing. Now what you don't want to do here of course with another dragon spawning is for some reason overstaying, mispositioning, dying. If you're the blue team and you get this advantage once more, don't overstay after that and then die yourselves. In the macro fixes and bounty video I released a few weeks ago for Season 12, we talked a lot about this back and forth, so I'm not going to talk about it here, I'll link it below. I hate it when people overpush on a herald and then die and give bounties, that's happening a lot in Season 12, and I hate it when teams get these freebies and then overpush themselves and die in the enemy base like the Talon. Now naturally they did get the dragon in this scenario, but ultimately it's going to come down to a case of who's getting picked and why, who's overpushing for no particular reason and dying, and will you as the assassin or as the fed person in your team that's carrying everything, go in bad team fights, make the mistakes of your engages, get trapped in bushes, and disrespect vision. And you will see that all unfold on your screen, Talon getting freebies, Zed dying unnecessarily, and we'll be talking now a little bit ahead of what's happening on screen. And as you do that, the momentum keeps going back into the blue team's favor. We had everything ready and primed to finish this game. We had every advantage necessary. And no, it's not always your fault. Sometimes you die trying to save your team. Sometimes you die getting 2 kills just because your team got caught out. It does happen. What you can minimize though is your mistakes in those scenarios that follow. Yes, they were able to pick up a Baron from one of those picks and fights, but then they do the same thing bottom lane anyway. They push and they all die. And from these mistakes, the blue team gets the Baron. So we had a nice back and forth. I'm just showing you the highlights because it kind of dragged on repetitively. But if you are the Zed in this case, you jungled well, you had such a big lead, you can still, as a byproduct of your champion and your lead, have an impact on the final result of this game. If you are the Talon, yes, you didn't have the best early game, but you did a good job of the early aggression, stealing the red, having map impact, sequencing well, making picks, but also because your champion is unholy disgusting. Nevertheless, when the enemy team decides, hey, we're gonna overpush and disrespect the respawn of the canyon, go forth my friends, get your 4 kills, get your pseudo penta, get the 22 kill bomb, demoralize the enemy for coming so close to the comeback but falling short because even though the rest of your team was kinda useless, Karma shielded you the right way, and because you were the carry, you were the 1v9, you understood every phase of the early, mid, and the late, and yes, the buck stops with you, so even though a few mistakes can be made, and of course even Canyon is allowed to make them, he's really trying to carry his whole team, make sure you don't make one so great that you lose the game, and when they make even a slither of a hiccup, you punish them, you capitalize, and you take home the LP. The key takeaways from this is understanding the full clear versus short and clear. When are you going to do a 3-camp gank or invade? When are you going to do a full clear? You saw the jungle solutions in the intro. Please ensure if negative things happen to you, like an invade, like a bad gank, like a bad death, you do not let it derail your game plan. Adapt, keep your tracking active, look to make plays on the opposite side of the map to the enemy jungler, and when you know you are the fed member and the enemy jungler is going to be showing up in a lane, adjust your pathing to make sure you cut them off, you counter gank them, you are present, convert that lead into an objective, and then take your lead. Stop controlling only your jungle, no one cares. move that to control the river, move that to control the enemy jungle, use your item lead, use your experience lead to force fights in your favor, get tower platings as much as you can, and you should have no issue snowballing to win the game, provided you don't make mechanical mistakes and provided you don't have an equal jungle matching you and getting fed on the corpses of your teammates. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy and learn something. Best of luck on your placements. There'll be a best junglers video coming this week and maybe another one. We'll see how we go. May the LP gods be with you, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.